The story of Kennedy and Trump has changed the course of history forever. August 23rd, 2024 will forever be known as the day we turned the corner and took back our great nation and changed the course of history and brought hope to a free world. Join me as we relive the strange relationship between Kennedy and Trump, leading to their return to the White House to make America healthy and great again. I spent 2 years following the Kennedy and Trump campaigns. Long before the two men ever considered running for president, Kennedy sued Trump and stopped him from building a golf course near the Hudson River. After Trump won the presidency in 2016, he recruited Kennedy to look into vaccine safety issues. Kennedy was forced out the door after clashing with a man by the name of Anthony Fauci. But the assassination attempt on President Trump's life brought Kennedy and Trump closer than ever. From rivals to collaborators, from foes to friends, this is the story of Kennedy and Trump. You can download the book for free right now by going to kennedyandtrump.com. That's kennedyandtrump.com. My name is Greg Fernandez Jr. God bless you all. May God be with you all, and thank you again for joining me here on this quick, brief, and easy podcast show. We are now in the midst of some of the greatest things that are about to happen in this book, and I have my notebook ready in case we find some more errors. I do not have a pen or pencil ready, but sure I can find one around here. I'm sure I got one. Oh, I sure do. I just happen to have a pretty interesting pen here. Let's see if the camera can pick that up or not. Oh, blasphemy, the great king. It's satire, but I got the pen here ready just in case. All right, got the freedom shirt going. We are ready to go and to continue on in this live edit version of the podcast. Okay, reading through the book, Kennedy and Trump. Let us continue on. We are now at the birth of the Unity Party. Can't get any better than this. I just want to savor this moment a little bit, knowing what we know now, knowing where it was, knowing how it all ties into Charlie Kirk, and who knows, maybe I'll find a place in this book or in the next one. The birth of the Unity Party. On August 23rd, 2024, in Phoenix, Arizona, Kennedy addressed his supporters about the future of his campaign. This was a spiritual journey for Kennedy. The decision to end his campaign was not an easy one to make. I reached my decision through deep prayer, through hard-nosed logic, and I asked myself, what choices must I make to minimize my chances? What choices must I make to maximize my chances to save America's children and restore national health? Kennedy was given the opportunity to work with Trump to reverse the country's chronic disease epidemic. I'm 70 years old, said Kennedy. I may have a decade to be effective. I can't imagine that a President Harris would allow me or anyone to solve these dire problems. After 8 years of President Harris, any opportunity for me to fix the problem will be out of my reach forever. In a private conversation, President Trump told Kennedy he wants to end the health crisis in America. I'm choosing to believe that this time he will follow through, said Kennedy. Kennedy joining the Trump campaign was great for America, but it was a difficult sacrifice for my wife and children, but worthwhile if there's even a small chance of saving these kids. Ultimately, the only thing that will save our children, the only thing that will save our country and our children is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other. Kennedy also spoke about the successful political careers of President Kennedy and Senator Robert Kennedy. My dad and uncle made such an enduring mark on the character of our nation, not so much because of any particular policies that they promoted, but because they were able to inspire profound love for our country and to fortify our sense of ourselves as a national community held together by ideals. They were able to put their love into the intentions and hearts of ordinary Americans and to unify a national populist movement of Americans, blacks and whites, Hispanics, urbans, and rural Americans. They inspired affection and love and high hopes and a culture of kindness that continue to radiate among Americans. The most unifying theme for all Americans is that we all love our children, Kennedy said towards the end of his announcement. If we all unite around that issue now, we can finally give them the protection, the health, and the future that they deserve. President Trump was giving a speech in Las Vegas, Nevada during, there's a, right there. Let's see. 2020. I believe Nevada. There should be a add comma. So we're going to keep finding these things, I believe. Trump had a special message for the audience. We just had a very nice endorsement from RFK Jr., Bobby. We're heading out right after this. We're going to be going to Arizona. We'll be talking about that. I want to thank Bobby. That was very nice. That's big. He's a great guy. He's respected by everybody. After Trump's speech, the media asked Trump some questions, and one specifically about Kennedy. Mr. President, what kind of cabinet or advisor positions are you considering for RFK Jr.? Trump ignored the question and just reiterated how great of a person Kennedy is. He's a respected person, Trump said about Kennedy. Not everybody agrees with everything he says, but that's true with everybody. I think if he would have run in the Democratic primary, I think he would have won. I think he would have beaten Biden. History in Arizona. Trump's rally in Arizona began like all past events. Trump was late, the venue was sold out, and the people were ecstatic. Then the music kicked in and Trump walked out to the stage. Then it happened. President Trump praised RFK Jr. during the early moments of the speech. Tonight, I'm very pleased to welcome a man who has been an incredible champion for so many of these values that we all share, and we've shared them for a long time, Trump told the sold-out crowd. As usual, Trump's sarcasm finds its way into another one of his speeches. I don't think too many of you people have heard of him, Trump joked. He's very low-key. He's a very low-key person, but he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The crowd erupted as the music played. There goes my hero. Watch him as he goes. Ooh, gives me goosebumps there. Not a big fan of that song, but that was a powerful moment in our history, folks. Still gives me chills thinking about it. Kennedy walked out to the stage. Fireworks blazed behind Kennedy as he waved to the people. Fireworks that we now know were actually put out there by Charlie Kirk. That's his doing, which made those iconic photos of Kennedy and Trump just look so much more better. Charlie Kirk added that spark to the flame right in front. Good stuff, man. Okay, President Trump extended his hand and the two embraced for a historical moment I will never forget. The Unity Party was formed. MAGA and MAHA are now one powerful, unified political force. Unstoppable. I almost cried. The crowd was still cheering as Trump returned to the podium. Man, wow. The cheers continued as Trump looked out to the sea of people and remarked, "He deserves it. He deserves it." Chants of USA filled the arena. This was unlike any Trump rally we've ever seen before. Kennedy waved as a standing ovation continued. One might have thought we just witnessed Hulk Hogan body slam Andre the Giant. No, this was better. Trump complimented Kennedy for his presidential run over the last 16 months. Trump once again stated his belief Kennedy would have beat Biden in the Democratic primary had he not been forced out of the blue brand months ago. Kennedy and Biden have at least one thing in common. Both presidential candidates were betrayed by the Democratic Party leadership. Trump continued to praise Kennedy. His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby, if you want to know the truth. We sure do. Trump planned to finish the job of investigating the assassination of President Kennedy. Soon after I was nearly assassinated in Pennsylvania last month, said Trump, Bobby called me to express his best wishes. He knows firsthand the risks incurred by leaders who stand up to the corrupt political establishment. He lost his father and uncle in service to our country, and Bobby himself was subject to repeated threats to his safety during the course of his campaign, while being denied protection by the Harris-Biden administration. In honor of Bobby, Trump continued, I am announcing tonight that upon my election, I will establish a new independent presidential commission on assassination attempts. They will be tasked with releasing all remaining documents pertaining to President John F. Kennedy's assassination and other events in question, and they also will conduct a rigorous review of the attack last month in Butler. Trump then focused on Kennedy's decades of work as an advocate for the health of our families and children. Millions of Americans who want clean air, clean water, and a healthy nation have concerns about toxins in our environment and pesticides in our food. That is why today I am repeating my pledge to establish a panel of top experts working with Bobby to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases, including autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and more. We want every child in America to grow up and to live a long and healthy life. Powerful. President Trump stood aside and asked Kennedy to say a few words. The audience remained standing and cheering as Kennedy began to speak. Kennedy thanked the crowd first and then thanked President Trump. Kennedy stopped and paused, and more chants of Bobby filled the arena. It was, for me, one of the greatest moments in American history. When the crowd calmed down a bit, and with President Trump grinning next to him, Kennedy finally spoke. A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Callie Means. He'd been advising me for years and on my campaign, and he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump, and I said, of course. A few minutes later, I got a call from the president. We had a very good talk, and then he invited me to come see him the next day. And I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida. Instead of talking about their differences, the two men talked about the values and issues which bound them together. Safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic in America was at the top of the list. Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world, said Kennedy. Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want the chemicals out of our food? Don't you want regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? That's what President Trump told me that he wanted. He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. Don't you want a president who's going to get us out of the wars and who's going to rebuild the middle class in this country? Kennedy also spoke about the issue of censorship in this great nation. The whole basis of American democracy is the free flow of information. We know that a government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. Can you think of any time that you can look back in history and say that the people who were censoring were the good guys? They're always the bad guys because it's always the first step down that slippery slope to totalitarianism. Kennedy Kennedy ended his historic speech with a few questions for the American people and legal voters, just the legal voters here. Don't you want a president who is going to protect America's freedom and is going to protect us against totalitarianism? And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? Who wouldn't want to make America healthy again? Anyone can say they do, but by their actions, we will know them. Like Kennedy, I believe Donald J. Trump is the answer to those questions. We don't worship President Trump. Like Kennedy, we worship God. We ask God to bless us all. We ask God to give us the strength to endure through hard times and to give us the wisdom to always do His will. Praise Jesus. Kennedy's final words in that speech reminded me this is a spiritual battle in a physical world. God bless you, and God bless America. Remember, only God can bless us. The moment of Kennedy and Trump together in the Arizona arena began with a handshake, and it ended with a hug. Bye-bye, Kamala. A month after Kennedy and Trump shook hands on the stage in Arizona, Kennedy was busy campaigning for Trump as part of the future president-elect's transition team. Kennedy explained how he was hurting President Trump and the Republican Party, but the Republican Party did nothing to stop me from getting on any ballot. Kennedy called Trump a congenial critic that was respectful and that was kind. Kennedy didn't feel the same way about the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party spent tens of millions of dollars to defame me, to publish perjuries against me, to publish fake news against me, to marginalize me, to make me look like a crazy person. And they spent tens of millions more dollars to make sure I could not get on those state ballots. Even so, Kennedy was able to get his name on every ballot in all 50 states, all before he joined Team Trump. The hypocrisy in Michigan was unveiled for all the world to see. Before Kennedy became the co-chair of President Trump's transition team, the Democratic Party sued him to keep him off of the ballot in Michigan. The day Kennedy endorsed Trump, the DNC pivoted, according to Kennedy, and sued to keep him on the state ballot. So far, they've won that lawsuit, said Kennedy. But I don't want you to vote for me. I want you to vote for Donald J. Trump. Kennedy also stated voting for Trump is the only way I'm going to get to Washington and do all the things to help end the war, to end the chronic disease epidemic, to end the censorship, to end the surveillance, and all the other things that I entered this race to do. Powerful. Brings me back to that moment, and I hope it does for you too, to these very powerful moments that we see here between Kennedy and Trump. I hope it means as much to you as it does to me. I don't know if it does. I hope it does, but let's continue reading on. The Kamala loophole. This is a good one. As a child, Kennedy was taught that our nation needed to be virtuous as individuals. Honesty, transparency, humility, and truth mattered. One time, I hit a baseball through my mom's window and broke it, said Kennedy. Kennedy's dad asked him what happened and reminded his son, before you answer this question, I want you to remember what George Washington did. He cut down the cherry tree. Kennedy was forced to consider his options and potential punishment if he failed to respond as George Washington once did as a child. This is a story every American knew at the time, Kennedy reflected. I remember the story well. Hopefully you do too. As a child, George Washington cut down a cherry tree, and when confronted, a young Washington said, I cannot tell a lie. Whether you believe this story is true, I've read several George Washington biographies, stories about him. Some say it's true, some say it's not. The meaning is good. The lesson is good. So don't be triggered if you believe it. This story did not happen. Or if you believe it did. It's a great lesson learned. It's a great, whatever, I forget what they call it. He always admitted when he was wrong, Kennedy said about Washington. But now the Democratic Party has given us a loophole around the mandate. All you have to know is 7 words, and you never have to admit to doing anything wrong. And this is what Kamala always said. I was born in the middle class. That was Kamala's big thing. That would be her first answer to any question. She would always start with that phrase. Hey, I was born in the middle class. What are you going to do about the border? I was born in the middle class. What are you going to do about our country? I was born in the middle class. What are you going to do about the wars? Born in the middle class. That's all you got to say. Trump was confident in stating Kennedy, the co-chair of his transition team, has a lot of good ideas on health and environmental issues. He's a big part of what we're doing, Trump said of Kennedy, and he does have great ideas. Getting a Kennedy to endorse a Trump Republican? That was a big deal, right? He's a good man. Trump scanned the room looking for Kennedy, but couldn't find him. As he usually does with his friends, Trump joked about some of Kennedy's views. I got to watch him a little bit on the environment, though, if you don't mind. Trump was less concerned about Kennedy's views on general health because when it came to human health, Trump said Kennedy is really good. Less than a month to Election Day, President Trump and Kennedy were both on the dais at the annual Al Smith charity dinner. Trump roasted a lot of people who were sitting next to him. And of course, the one person who declined to attend in person, the one born in the middle class, Kamala Harris. We know Kennedy is the co-chair of President Trump's transition team, but we don't know what job, if any, Kennedy will take once President Trump wins in November. This is another example, by the way, of where I'm writing the book in real time, which is really, really fun. People you can follow along with. Obviously, everybody knows, hopefully by now, where Kennedy ends up at. But this is one of those fun things that I really enjoy, trying to write a book in real time, because you get some things like this, some of these quotes here that may seem a little bit out of place, but what are you talking about? We know exactly where it is. But at that time, obviously, we did not know where Kennedy was going to land, where he was going to end up. We obviously do now. Let's see. Trump ribbing Kennedy at the Al Smith dinner gives us a hint as to where Kennedy will land in 2025. During his speech at the dinner, Trump wanted to congratulate somebody who was going to make us all healthy, RFK Jr. Trump looks across the room and sees Kennedy and his wife, Cheryl Hines. We love you, Trump says to the couple. Trump commends Kennedy for campaigning all over the country for him and calls Kennedy a great guy. Trump believes Kennedy is going to make America a healthier place. We need it. If anyone can make this country healthy again, it's Kennedy. Trump then jokes about what Kennedy will do in his administration. Health gone wild. We're going to let him run. We're going to let him go wild for a little while, Trump said about Kennedy. Then I'm going to have to maybe rein him back because he's got some pretty wild ideas, but most of them are really good, I think. Trump likes to joke with his friends, and Kennedy is always a good sport in these situations. Kennedy has no problem making fun of himself, cracking jokes about the worm in his brain during his short stand-up routine. He's a good man, Trump continued. He believes in the environment, the healthy people. He wants healthy food, and he's going to do it. He's going to have a big chance to do it because we do need that. Lion Kamala, after having turned down the Fox News debate on September 4, which I accepted, is now saying she wants to debate, despite the fact that the votes are already being cast. The reason she wants it now is simple. She is losing in the polls and is desperate, will do anything. The problem is that Kamala can't even do a simple interview and needs the fake news broadcasters like CBS to completely withdraw her answer on 60 Minutes, which was incoherent, and illegally insert a completely different one in order to make her look modestly intelligent. It did not help. And 60 Minutes will be paying a heavy price for a long time to come. That's from one of Trump's Truth Social posts there. In case that wasn't clear, I wasn't sure if that was actually made clear there. Kennedy recalled the response he got when he decided to run against Joe Biden in the 2024 presidential election. I lost many of my friends at that point, Kennedy remembered. I lost family members who turned against me very, very publicly. But when I committed the sin of endorsing Donald Trump, that hostility went on steroids. I received letters from people who have been friends for most of my life who said we can't be friends anymore. Some friends. Kennedy believes hostility is not grounded in reality. The public image of Donald Trump in mainstream media is so far from the reality of who he really is. While serving in Congress as a Democrat in 2016, Tulsi Gabbard was asked to meet with President elect Trump a few days before Thanksgiving in 2016. Tulsi flew to New York and spent an hour at Trump Tower discussing foreign policy, Islamic terrorism, and solutions to regime change wars. This was a great opportunity to speak to the next commander in chief. Tulsi was aware of the neocons who would try to prevent Trump from fulfilling his campaign promises to end the wars abroad. President Trump's gut instinct when it comes to the issue of war and peace is to prevent war and to try to bring about an end to war. This was the first time Tulsi and Trump met face to face, and the first meeting with Trump that morning. Tulsi described the president elect as kind and welcoming during their 60-minute conversation. According to Tulsi, I talked to him about why we should stop being the policemen of the world, why we need to bring about an end to regime change, wars, and shared my own experiences with him. It was a very substantive conversation. He listened to what I had to say. He asked questions. He asked follow-up questions. It was a very thoughtful, substantive conversation for about an hour. Tulsi quickly realized the man she spoke to was not the same person as the one the media was selling to the public. The backlash against Tulsi began within 5 minutes of her leaving Trump Tower. My phone started blowing up, said Tulsi, with messages and tweets and texts and emails coming from both members of some of my family, many of my Democrat colleagues, and a whole lot of people I've never even met before. They were seething with hate and with disapproval and with disgust, literal disgust. But the word that was used most often throughout these messages was that by meeting with President Trump, I had committed the offense of humanizing him. Who says that? Asked Tulsi. This program to trick people carried on throughout Trump's first term and even to this day. Their goal is to make it so that when the American people look at him, they don't see a person, that they see someone they should view as the enemy, which is such a dangerous thing. We've seen now at least 2 attempts on his life. This is a dangerous mindset, unfortunately, that the Democrat Party has had, and why you have the consequences that both Bobby and I have experienced. I think that may be a good. Well, let's visit McDonald's first. After hearing conflicting reports of Kamala working for McDonald's back in the 80s, President Trump decided to work the fryer at the fast food restaurant in Pennsylvania. After working the fryer, Trump then moved to the drive-thru and handed out a few bags of food to several customers. Trump then told the cameras, "I've now worked 15 minutes more at McDonald's than Kamala." Of course, the media continued to ask him if he would accept the results of the election. Trump repeated his statement he would, as long as it's a fair election. No one should eat at McDonald's or any fast food restaurant if they can avoid it. It's not good food. Unfortunately, there are many people who can't afford good food and even more people who can't afford McDonald's. Yet the Biden team kept telling us the economy was doing great, record numbers, and Americans were doing better than ever. Liars. Kennedy's top priority in the second President Trump administration will be human health. It starts at the top. Start with educating President Trump on what McDonald's food is made of and what we can do to make McDonald's great again. It didn't take long for Kennedy to weigh in and remind us McDonald's wasn't always a major health hazard. There was a time when McDonald's used beef tallow to make their French fries. Fast food is a part of American culture, said Kennedy, but that doesn't mean it has to be unhealthy. and that we can't make better choices. Did you know that McDonald's used to use beef tallow to make their fries from 1940 until phasing it out in favor of seed oils in the 1990s? This switch was made because saturated animal fats were thought to be unhealthy, but we have since discovered that seed oils are one of the driving causes of the obesity epidemic. Interestingly enough, this began to drastically rise around the same time fast food restaurants switched from beef tallow to seed oil in their fryers. There you go. Kennedy was clear about Kennedy was clear about who is not at fault for our food poisoning problem. People who enjoy a burger with fries on a night out aren't to blame. Americans should have every right to eat out at a restaurant without being unknowingly poisoned by heavily subsidized seed oils. It's time to make frying oil tallow again. I love it. We're definitely going to stop right there. And once again, I will just thank you all for joining me here, jumping in here for a few quick minutes, trying to read through this book as fast as I can, as quickly as I can, as best as I can. Finding a few more edits. Only found 3 edits today that need to be done and tackled, and we will get those tackled. Looking forward to doing this same thing. Now that this book is almost done, I'm looking forward to doing a similar thing to my next book called Shadows of Light, which will feature a lot of different topics, including the Bohemian Grove, President John F. Kennedy, some of the early days of the New World Order, or what we may call the global government, the Federal Reserve Bank, Jesse Ventura's court case or issue with Chris Kyle, and some of the things that were left out of this book. 2 specific chapters that were actually left out of the Kennedy and Trump book will be inserted into my next book, Shadows of Light, at the very end. I'm looking forward to that. Then we'll move on to The Invisible Enemy, the early days of COVID-19. We'll do that one next. And of course, all in between that on the Gray Stage channel, Dan Hennon and I will be back this Saturday to do another Gray Stage podcast where he will read through the book and we'll talk about it. We are now at episode number 42, I think. We've been on the Gray Shame chapter for a long, long time. And I don't know if how long it's going to take us to get through that. But the goal is to try to do a show at least once every month. Because of time scheduling, we were going to do this the first Saturday of October. We are now moving it to this Saturday. That will be on the Gray Stage channel. Join us there live at 10 a.m. Pacific time, specific time, as I like to say, specific, because we're very specific about the time and what time zone we're in. It's my specific time zone, may not be yours. All right, God bless you all. Remember, Jesus Christ loves you, my friends, and so do I. Have a great day.